Hey guys, this video was inspired about having the same comments to new freelancers all the time. It's titled How to Not Ruin Your Freelancing Career. And what I did was I talked to some of the other instructors at Freelancer Masterclass. By the way, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Have to mention that. So the other successful freelancers that teach our classes, there's 8 of us now at freelancermasterclass.com. I asked them, I said, I'm doing a video on YouTube about how to not ruin your freelance career. What are your top 3 tips? And what I did was I took all those tips, I kind of combined them. So now I have 8 or 9 tips here that will, I think it's 9. Yeah, 9 tips. So I have put them all in a presentation, and I'm just calling it how to not to ruin your freelance career, the top 9 tips from successful freelancers. So let's go ahead and go through them right now. The first thing that came up very often was know what you're worth. So many times you have a beginner freelancer, and I'm actually working with a freelancer right now who's just out of college, wants to start freelancing, and he made his Upwork profile. Very smart guy, and he put $20 an hour on there. I'm like, what are you doing? $20? It should be at least double that, if not triple. He offers marketing services, and he just didn't know. He just like, oh, I just want to accept anybody and just to get started. I can understand that. I was in that place, but I'm telling you for a fact, from experience and for a fact that I've seen time and time again, the clients that you want aren't the ones that will hire you for bargain basement prices. Your value is immediately diminished when they see somebody putting themselves out there for $20 an hour, especially if you live in a nicer than normal area like LA or San Francisco, where the standards of living are expensive, and it takes 6 figures just to almost break even in cities like that, it seems. I'm near the San Francisco area, and you got to be making 120, 100,000, 130,000 a year just to kind of have a normal standard of living. It's really hard out here. So when you put yourself out there as $20 an hour, and you might think, okay, well, what is that in salary wise? Well, I always use a benchmark. $30 an hour equals $60,000 a year. Okay, so if you want to think $20 an hour is 2/3 of that, so that's less than $50,000 a year. That's not even worth freelancing. That's a part-time gig, if you ask me. So definitely know what you're worth, okay? And don't negotiate. This, again, very common problem. New freelancers trying to bring on, even experienced freelancers, trying to bring on a client, and they immediately start negotiating themselves down without the client answering them. I sit in on a lot of discovery calls with prospects, and the prospect will say, okay, great, I'm looking forward to get started. I got you 20 hours a week, and I need you for at least 3 months for this project. And like, okay, great. Well, now that you're giving me 20 hours a week, I can actually reduce my fee $20 an hour. It's like, what? Why did you say that? That one sentence just cost you thousands of dollars. Why would you say something like that? And then again, on the flip side of that, if a client just outright asks you, hey, can you lower your rate to meet our budget? Just say, there are videos of me talking about how to overcome objections, and these are one of the objections you should have ready. But when somebody outright asks you to lower your rate to meet their budget, you can say, well, I think my rate is very valuable, given the work that I can provide. How about we talk about reprioritizing some of the tasks we put on our plate? Believe me, your clients will appreciate that better. But I'll tell you on the flip side of that, if you do negotiate your rate, every single time that client gives you some work to do, they're going to ask you the same question, trying to reduce your rate. And you're going to do that to all your clients, and pretty soon, instead of working for $80 an hour, you're regularly trying to discount your rate to 40 or 50 just to appease a client, and that's not the habit you want to get into. It's very, very easy to fall into the negotiation habit, so set your standards early with that. Don't sign contracts without reading them. This was a tip from one of our instructors that wasn't on my original list, but it's so true. I used to just willy-nilly just sign agreements. Now I'm the one actually making the agreements because I have them all ready now. And if you're a student at Freelancer Masterclass, you'll get those agreements. So you won't have to sign agreements from clients unless it's like an NDA or something where they don't want you to copy their work, which in my opinion isn't enforceable by law anyway. But be that as it may, that's another class. Just don't sign contracts willy-nilly without reading them. If you sign a contract and you see on there that there's no late fee and they can pay whenever, and or they pay only after they get an investment, it's something you never talked about via email, and then God forbid it comes to court where, oh, well, he told me this over the phone. No, I didn't say that. It's like verbal stuff doesn't hold up in court at all. It's the contract that holds up in court. So as boring as it sounds, you have to read those contracts. Now, don't do out of scope work. This is called scope creep. Okay. This is the reason why you have to read those contracts. Going back to the earlier tip, out of scope work means you don't get paid for it. Your time as a freelancer is very valuable. If a client asks you to do a web design project and then they ask you to do, hey, can you spend a couple hours doing on-page search engine optimization? And you're like, no, that wasn't in the quote. All right, so stick by whatever you quoted out. That's why you have to triple check what your scope of work is before you start work. Really understand what you're being paid for. Here's one that I'm guilty of. So I work so fast, especially as a beginner freelancer, is I was just taking on clients and go on to the next one. I wasn't taking time to save my work, to build a little portfolio. I actually had to take a week off. I slated a week of just no client work, no client meetings, nothing, just to go back through all my clients and build a portfolio. And I don't want to have to do that again because that was a lot of work. Okay, but as you go, do what's called an AAR. I was in the Army. We do an AAR after all the battle movement exercise called after action review. Okay, now in after action review, we talk about this in the masterclass. There's a form you should fill out, and this is something you have to do. You have to get in a practice if you want to be a successful freelancer to do an after action review. It asks you basic questions about, what was it that you liked about the working with the client? What is it you didn't? But one of those things on there is, what can you save to your portfolio? And you should absolutely have a little paragraph summary write-up of what you did, any results you can document, any images or videos you can get out of it, and then all that stuff has to be promoted to your website, to your Upwork profiles, all that good stuff, because that is what prospects use to judge how good your work is. And if you're proud of it, you should be showing it off. Don't say yes to everyone who wants to hire you. Huge problem for new freelancers, even for experienced ones. They get excited when they make the close. They see the money, even if it's a high-paying job. If you don't think it's going to be a good client to work with and you're excited about it, then don't do it. You have to understand the core values of why you became a freelancer. It's not to just work for anyone and everyone. You can do that on a salary job. You can go to get a 9 to 5 and have your boss throw any job at you and you have to do it, or you get reprimanded or worse, even fired. The freelancer, it's in the title of the job, freelancer. Freelancing is freedom. Okay, it's the ability to pick and choose what clients you want. And I understand if you're behind on money, you're behind on your goals. I'm telling you, if you start working for a client you don't want to work with, for whatever reason, it's going to tie you up from finding and closing deals with clients you do want to work with. So really think to yourself. I have a gut instinct now. I'm experienced enough to know right on the way on the discovery call, this is not a client I want to work with for numerous reasons, whether it's their responses, the way they talk to me, or the way they talk to their team members if they bring the team member on the discovery call. I have, I guess you call it spidey sense now. I've been doing this for so long, I'll immediately cut that short and just tell them, honestly, listen, I think you could find a better marketer for your value is the exact way that I can say it. Okay. Really, it's hard, but think about instilling that in your company. And yes, you have a company if you're a freelancer. Don't plagiarize. I run into this a lot. I had to unfortunately fire a freelancer. The other day, they delivered me a blog post that was almost literally a copy and paste from someone else's blog. Not for this class. It was for a company. So I was in charge of a content writing team, and I hired a content writer, and he came to me with a blog from one of the competitors of my client. So I found out, there are tons of easy ways to find out. There are tools you just drop the blog in and it'll tell you if it matches another blog or even a sentence of another blog. Just don't plagiarize. There's so many reasons I can go on and on why. Just know for the purposes of video, don't do it. We in Freelancer Masterclass, we discuss something called the skyscraper technique, which is perfectly legal and fine to do. I do it. I use it as inspiration for Freelancer Masterclass content. A skyscraper technique is when you look at other content. I go to buzzsumo.com and I see what's trending in any keyword, say freelancing area, and then I see what blogs are popular, what podcasts are popular, and I think about ways to make it better, those popular contents better. So for example, if a piece of content is like this, like how to not ruin your freelancing career, I'll change up the title, I'll change the inspiration a little bit. Instead of 7 tips, I'll make it 20 or something like that. So that's a skyscraper is building upon something, right? You're building higher on something else, just like the skyscraper of a building. So it's the same thing with content marketing. You don't need to plagiarize, just use other content as inspiration. Okay. And care about your reputation. So many clients or freelancers I ask, hey, if I Google you, what am I going to pull up? What kind of reviews? Like, I don't know. I'm like, how often do you Google yourself? I don't know. Have you ever searched for yourself on Bing? No. Okay, well, you should care about your reputation. One of our lead instructors at Freelancer Masterclass is the owner of a company called Rhino Reviews, and she is all about how to manage your reputation as a consultant or a freelancer. Because really, if you think that prospects aren't going to be Googling you, checking your LinkedIn page, Binging you, you have another thing coming. Your reputation is very, very important online. In fact, it's so important that I would say that it would either make or break your career to be able to scale as a freelancer. And the worst thing about your reputation online is a lot of it you can't control. If you get a bad review out there, very hard to take down, if not impossible. Especially if it starts appearing on other sites that you have no control over. Okay, so care about your reputation. The last one I have for you is goals. What purpose is it to try to scale your freelancing career without goals? How do you know you reach your goal? How do you know when to celebrate? Okay, if your goal, the most common goal is 6 figures, that's a weird goal to me because it's just an arbitrary number. But if you're trying to get to 6 figures, understand that $100,000 a year equals break it down per month. In fact, let's do the math right now. All right, I just paused this video and I did a quick spreadsheet for you. So if your goal is $100,000 per year, $833 per month, $8,333. Okay. Then let's just suppose, let me just change this to currency and be more reasonable with the decimals there. All right, so your charge per, let's say you charge $50 an hour. That means I'm just dividing the per month income by the hourly rate. That means you have to work 167 hours per month, and to put that in perspective, that's over a 40-hour work week. Hours needed to work per work week. So if you think about, I want to make 6 figures, and I charge $50 an hour, you have to work more than full time. Now remember, in Freelancer Masterclass, we show you all the other stuff that goes into working as a freelancer. You need to put away 2 to 3 hours a day for prospecting, discovery calls, managing the numbers on your business, all that good stuff. So if you think about it, you'll be working about 60 hours a week. That's not what you want to do. So your option is either to have a bigger goal here, charge more per hour, whatever your goal there is. But if your goal is $100,000, something has to give if you don't want to work full time. Okay, if you don't want to work over full time, I mean. So think about that in terms of your goals, because having clear goals gives you purpose and direction, and understands what you want to celebrate. Okay, so I hope these tips helped. Good luck.